Most men are harmless, domesticated, safe. They've traded their claws for comfort and their teeth for approval. But there is another kind of man, the outlier. He walks into chaos and the chaos settles, not from respect, but from primal fear. Niccolo Machiavelli didn't write The Prince for the harmless. He wrote it for the dangerous. And if you've noticed certain changes in yourself lately, changes that others might call cold or unsettling, you're not losing your humanity. You're gaining something far more valuable. Strategic power, unshakable frame, the capacity to act when others freeze. Most people who talk about this give you surface-level motivational noise. Stand up for yourself, set boundaries, be confident. That's kindergarten advice. What we're exploring today is the architecture of danger itself, the internal shifts that separate the predator from the prey. And I'll warn you now, sign number 5 will make you deeply uncomfortable, because it requires you to accept something about yourself that society has spent your entire life conditioning you to deny. Stay with me. The first sign is the death of the nice guy. And I don't mean you become rude or disrespectful. I mean you develop what Machiavelli called strategic cruelty. You understand that kindness, when applied universally and without calculation, is not virtue, it's weakness. Machiavelli observed that princes who tried to be good at all times were destroyed by those who had no such limitations. The dangerous man doesn't reject kindness, he weaponizes it. He understands that generosity has value only when it's selective, when it creates obligation, when it shifts the balance of power. You stop helping people because it makes you feel good. You help when it serves a purpose, when it builds loyalty, when it creates debt. And when someone needs to be cut off, excluded, or opposed, you do it without the emotional theater. No guilt, no 3-paragraph explanations. You simply withdraw your energy and move on. This is the moment when people start calling you cold. They're not wrong, you've just stopped paying the empathy tax that keeps most men trapped in patterns of self-sacrifice. The nice guy thinks everyone deserves his time and patience. The dangerous man knows that attention is the most valuable currency he has, and he spends it like a miser. Machiavelli would tell you that the appearance of mercy is useful, but mercy itself should never compromise your position. The second sign is emotional zero point. Machiavelli famously wrote that a prince must be both lion and fox. The lion uses force, the fox uses cunning. But the fox cannot function if his emotions control him. You've reached zero point when betrayal no longer devastates you, when rejection doesn't send you spiraling, when someone's anger or disappointment feels like weather, something external that you observe but do not absorb. This doesn't mean you've become numb. It means you've developed emotional sovereignty. You feel things, but you are not ruled by them. The dangerous man watches his own emotions the way a scientist watches a chemical reaction, with interest but not identification. He doesn't ask why he feels sad or angry or afraid. He asks what the feeling is trying to tell him and whether acting on it serves his objectives. Most men are still children in this regard. They react. They lash out when insulted. They chase when abandoned. They collapse when criticized. The dangerous man has learned to insert space between stimulus and response. In that space lives his power. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote The Prince while in exile, tortured, stripped of his position, and yet the text is cold, analytical, almost surgical. That's not because he didn't feel, it's because he refused to let feeling dictate his thinking. When you reach emotional zero point, people will accuse you of not caring. Let them. Their need for your emotional availability is not your responsibility. The third sign is the removal of the pedestal. Machiavelli had no patience for idealism. He studied power as it actually operates, not as poets and priests wished it would. The dangerous man applies this same ruthless realism to people. He stops worshiping. He stops placing women, mentors, leaders, or friends on pedestals. Desacralization is the process of seeing people as they are, not as you need them to be. And it's one of the most painful transitions you'll ever experience. Because when you remove the pedestal, you see that everyone is driven by self-interest. Everyone has contradictions. Everyone is capable of betrayal under the right conditions. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. The man who worships his partner will be blindsided when she leaves. The man who idolizes his boss will be destroyed when he's discarded. The man who believes his friends are unconditionally loyal will be gutted when they turn on him for status or money. Machiavelli warned against depending on the goodwill of others. He wrote that men are ungrateful, fickle, and deceitful. They will support you when it benefits them and abandon you the moment it doesn't. The dangerous man internalizes this. He loves without dependence. He trusts without naivety. He connects without delusion. And because he expects nothing, he is never disappointed. People sense this in you. They feel that their approval or rejection doesn't move you, and it disturbs them because they've lost leverage. Now, here's where most men begin to fail, because the next three signs require you to embrace something primal, something society taught you to fear and suppress. But Machiavelli understood that a prince without teeth is simply prey wearing a crown. The fourth sign is weaponized silence. Most men fill every gap in conversation. They explain themselves, they justify their decisions, they seek validation through words. The dangerous man has learned that silence is violence. Not literal violence, but psychological violence, strategic absence of response. Machiavelli understood that power often lies not in what you say, but in what you refuse to say. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. When someone insults you and you don't react, they become unsettled. When someone demands an explanation and you offer none, they spiral. When someone expects your anger and you give them nothing, they lose their footing. This is the void, and you've become dangerous when you can deploy it at will. You stop defending yourself against accusations that don't matter. You stop arguing with people who have already made up their minds. You stop filling awkward silences with nervous chatter. The dangerous man lets the silence sit. He lets the tension build. He understands that the person who speaks first, who breaks the silence out of discomfort, has already lost. Your enemies will interpret your silence as guilt. Let them. Your silence isn't a confession, it's a refusal to participate in their frame. And that refusal is more destabilizing than any argument you could make. Machiavelli never tried to convince his critics, he simply outlasted them. You're learning to do the same. The fifth sign is the capacity for violence. And before you misunderstand, I'm not talking about becoming a thug or a bully. I'm talking about integrating your shadow. Carl Jung wrote about this, but Machiavelli lived it. He understood that a prince without the capacity for force is a prince waiting to be overthrown. The dangerous man doesn't reject his dark side. He doesn't suppress his anger, his aggression, his potential for destruction. He acknowledges it. He trains it. He keeps it on a leash, not because he's afraid of it, but because he controls it. This is what Jordan Peterson calls integrating the monster. A harmless man is not virtuous, he's just harmless. He doesn't choose peace, he's simply incapable of anything else. But the man who could be violent, who has the capacity to cause real damage and chooses restraint, that man is dangerous because everyone around him knows. They sense it. They see it in his eyes, in his posture, in the way he moves through space. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. The dangerous man is capable of both, but he prioritizes fear, not because he's cruel, but because he understands that love is fickle and fear is reliable. When you've integrated your capacity for violence, you stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop letting people disrespect you because you're terrified of conflict. You become someone people think twice about crossing, and that hesitation is your armor. The sixth sign is ruthless prioritization. Machiavelli understood economy of force. A prince cannot be everywhere, cannot fight every battle, cannot satisfy every demand. The dangerous man applies this to his life with surgical precision. He cuts away everything that doesn't serve his mission, relationships that drain him, habits that weaken him, obligations that exist only because he's afraid to say no. This is the prince's economy. Every hour, every ounce of energy, every moment of attention is allocated with the cold calculation of a general deploying troops. You stop attending events you don't care about. You stop maintaining friendships out of guilt. You stop working on projects that lead nowhere. And people will call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of not being the person you used to be. They're right. You're not. You've stopped being available to everyone and started being available to your purpose. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to be not good when necessity commands. The dangerous man takes this further. He learns to be not available when his priorities demand it. He understands that his time is the only non-renewable resource he has, and he guards it like a fortress. This is when you start losing people, and that's the point. The dangerous man doesn't collect relationships, he cultivates alliances. And if someone isn't contributing to his mission, they're removed. Not with malice, just with the cold efficiency of a man who knows what matters. Remember sign 1, strategic cruelty. It applies here too. The seventh sign is the acceptance of solitude. Machiavelli spent years in isolation, exiled, forgotten, tortured, and yet he wrote his greatest works in that silence. The dangerous man doesn't fear being alone, he requires it, because solitude is where clarity lives. It's where you strip away the noise, the opinions, the expectations, and face yourself without distraction. Most men avoid solitude because it forces them to confront the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be. The dangerous man seeks it. He understands that the crowd is where weakness is born, where you compromise, where you perform, where you trade your truth for acceptance. Machiavelli wrote that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. The dangerous man applies this to himself. He looks at his circle and asks, do these people make me sharper or duller? Do they challenge me or validate me? Do they expand my power or dilute it? And when the answer is wrong, he walks away. The sovereign path is walked alone, not because the dangerous man hates people, but because he refuses to be shaped by them. He builds himself in solitude and emerges only when he's ready. And when he does, people feel the difference. They sense that he doesn't need them, and that independence is the final and most unsettling sign of danger. Now, there's sign 0. The price of power. And it's the one no one wants to talk about, because becoming dangerous costs you something you can never get back. Innocence. The ability to unsee what you've seen. Once you understand how power actually works, once you've internalized Machiavelli's lessons, you can't go back to the naive version of yourself. You'll see manipulation in every kindness, strategy in every friendship, self-interest in every gesture. And you'll be right most of the time. That's the price. You gain clarity, but you lose comfort. You gain power, but you lose the luxury of pretending the world is fair. You become the man who sees the strings, who understands the game, who knows that beneath every smile is a calculation. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that men who want to be good at all times will come to ruin among so many who are not good. The dangerous man accepts this trade. He chooses eyes open over heart warm, and he walks forward anyway. Alone if necessary, armed with understanding, unshakable in frame. If you've recognized yourself in these signs, you're not broken, you're waking up. And if this video gave you clarity instead of comfort, if it showed you the structure underneath instead of selling you dreams, then subscribe to NoirMachiavelli, because that's what we do here. We don't motivate, we illuminate. Drop a comment and tell me which sign hit you hardest, or better yet, which one are you still resisting? I'll see you in the next one.